All right, guys. So, as you know, oh boy, blockchain, crypto, it's starting to fire up. And as we know, I interview great projects, serious people doing some serious things in the space. And, by now, you know who I am. I've interviewed many different projects for educational purposes, to share knowledge, to teach people about different projects. And, this is something I kind of stand for. And I'm sure by now, a lot of my audience, of nearly 30,000 followers, also understand that I share these projects for educational purposes. We have Stephen here from 34 Bytes. I just want to say to you guys, it's a privilege interviewing these great guys because I see how this industry is evolving, and oh boy, it's evolving pretty fast. First things first, guys, is just my 2 cents. This is not financial or investment advice by any means. This is just purely an educational video interview to educate people about these great projects. So take that as a grain of salt. That is not investment advice, and it does follow the rules there in the sense of disclosing the earnings of this interview. So, guys, Stephen, it's great to get you on board. 34 Bytes. I love what you guys are doing. Tell me a little about you, man, and how you got involved with 34 Bytes.
Yeah, thank you for having me on your show. It's really a pleasure. 34 Bytes was started a few years back, and we just saw an opportunity. Cryptocurrency is such a brand new thing, and it really, when I first kind of got into it and started learning about it and understanding it, I realized that it's just absolutely wide open for innovation. There's just so much space for innovation. And that was really exciting. So we thought about different things we could do and in this space, and helping people spend their cryptocurrency in the real world, in in-person transactions was a spot.
Which is going to be more mainstream over time. It's going to get more mainstream.
Yeah, we're still very, very early to that space. Crypto is 10 years old now, but it's still very young in terms of the overall the big picture of things.
So tell me about you. Tell me. Let's get this interview pumping and tell people what you guys are doing. So what are you guys all about?
We, like I said, we're about making crypto easy to spend in the real world. In my previous professional life, I was an engineer with a couple different defense contractors. But when I got wind of Bitcoin and then the subsequent things that started happening, it really kind of made me change my plans.
I think it's changing a lot of people's plans because, like you say, we're still sort of in this early stage. We're only 10 years old, and there's still a long way to go. The ecosystem is being built, education is being shared, like how we're doing with this interview. We're sharing your education. Would you agree?
Absolutely, yeah. There's, I think the biggest obstacle right now, or the biggest thing needs to be addressed, is just education of the consumers and education of the merchants in our case.
For sure.
They're really pretty radically different from everything that we're used to, which is why it takes people a while to wrap their head around it. I like to describe it as a parallel set of railroad tracks to the current financial infrastructure. That's a big leap that people need to make to start learning about the technology and getting comfortable with it. And I think that's one of the most important parts is education and the user experience. Right?
Yeah.
So the terminals, what we're trying to do is make it extremely easy. It's got to be intuitive. It's got to be easy, grandma proof, or whatever you want to call it.
But people can just use it.
Sorry?
So people can just use it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's talk about the project. Let's talk about 34 Bytes. So what is it? I love what you guys are doing. I love every project that's trying to spread education. That's what I'm all about. That's why we're here. Only less than 10% of the people around the world know about blockchain, let alone cryptocurrency. And then with all the symptoms that come with it, is it a scam? Is it not a scam? And trust and reliability and visibility. We're still in the early stages of regulation and so forth. But coming back to 34 bytes, what you guys are doing is that you're trying to take this mainstream. So why did you think of this journey, and why did you guys want to do this?
It's just something that's so fascinating, and
right.
There's no question at all that cryptocurrencies are the future. There's none. Cryptocurrencies and crypto assets are the future. There's just no doubt. It's just a matter of the timeline, right?
They say we live in a tokenized world. Apparently, Cointelegraph and a couple of other articles I read, some people are making judgments that, I think it was the guy from Jack Dorsey saying that, the world's going to be all tokenized.
Yep. Yeah, it's true. This is going to be applied in all kinds of places, and I mean, in the payment space and outside, in terms of like equity stakes in different companies or voting mechanisms for organizations or countries. I mean, there's so many applications for this kind of stuff.
So where does 34 bytes come into all this? Just break it down for the average grandma or the average Joe trying to really wrap their heads around it. What is it that 34 bytes do? And break down the steps of what you guys are doing.
Sure. Yeah. So we have, I've got one right here. This is one of the terminals we have. Wow. We're working on an Android app as well, but initially we wanted to kind of leverage the familiarity of these kinds of terminals, these countertop terminals, because that kind of it's less intimidating, right? If you can be paying on that, it's not as strange.
Yeah.
Other options. But so what happens is the merchant just rings up the price of the transaction in their local currency, whether that's dollars or pounds or euros, wherever they are, and we get an instant exchange rate from the market, and the terminal generates a QR code that the customer can pay to.
So in a nutshell, if you want to buy crypto, you just order it from the merchant, and then it just delivers that to you.
We do the terminals do have an option for we call it an ATM mode, where you can buy and sell cryptocurrencies. Right now, the terminal supports Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Dash. Those are just the ones we're starting with. But yeah, there's an ATM mode that's on the terminals. But that, of course, whether you can use that or not depends on the laws in your local area, right?
Right. So how fast are you guys growing then in terms of, getting these terminals out, and getting as many merchants on board? Where are you guys in this space? Are you sort of pre-level? Are you sort of going more, are you going more afield? Are you spreading your network? How's it working?
Yeah, right now we're building on our network. And we have our device here that we're getting out, and we're working with a couple different groups down in South America. And as a side note, I think that's where the adoption is going to happen first.
Venezuela,
South America specifically, or places like that, right? The first world countries like the United States, Western Europe,
they don't need it.
Currencies for payments is still kind of a novelty.
Yeah.
There's other places where people have a lot more to gain and a lot less to lose by using cryptocurrencies. The classic example that everyone keeps talking about right now is Venezuela. And, it's hard to get an idea of how prevalent cryptocurrencies are down there. You hear varying reports, but there's no doubt that it addresses the problems that those guys are facing.
You think those guys that are facing those problems, 34 bytes can resolve with actually, their economy, their fiat, their rates have, dropped big time, and, with their problems with the government, how will, 34 bytes or even in cryptocurrency in general, do you think it will replace their tender value?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Will it replace their fiat system, do you think, cryptocurrency, because it's so devalued over time?
That's a good question, and you can talk to 5 people and get 10 different answers about what their predictions are for the future. And currently in the space, there's a big discussion about whether Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies are a store of value or a medium of exchange,
and whether if the dollar and the GDP are dropping and Bitcoin is replacing it, right? In that sense.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm extremely bullish on the extremely long term, right? Think about the history of banking and how long the current kinds of institutions have been around. Those are not going to get replaced in 2 years. But there is no doubt that cryptocurrency is a vastly better solution than printed paper money that isn't backed by any kind of assets. So in the long term, there's no doubt, but in the medium term, we're still early in this whole space.
Yeah, everyone's trying to learn. I totally agree. And I think people even down the street still don't even know what Bitcoin is or what cryptocurrency is, and they're still trying to get their head around it because they always think it's a scam and this and that. And really, truly speaking, it's not just crypto, it's also blockchain in general that's changing this world slowly but surely. In terms of 34 bytes, and so you guys are, going across. You're supporting 3 different cryptocurrencies: Bitcoin, Dash, Litecoin. How are you guys gonna go and now spread? How are you gonna basically get more accessibility for people to use 34 bytes?
Yeah, that's a good question. And so that's what we're doing. Well, the way we're reaching out into the world is we're building a network of sales agents or resellers.
Right.
People that want to be a distributor in their region, because this is a global.
It's a global phenomenon, yeah.
Right? There's language barriers and cultural differences. So what we're doing is building a network of people in these different areas that are interested in it, and they can approach merchants that are near them. They speak the language. They know about the neighborhoods, stuff that we would not be able to know here from Los Angeles to the level that we would need to. So that's what we're working on, building out that network. And if anybody's watching here and they want to be a reseller or
reach out to Steven, because he's definitely the guy to talk to when it comes to reselling and also what these guys are doing. Please do reach out to him. So, guy, what is it now? So 34 bytes, you're an exchange, and you're an exchange, right? To an extent, or?
No, we are not. As a very important point, that we are not a custodian, and we don't host wallet services. We, by design, we don't want to do that stuff.
Right. So you're taking a slightly different approach.
Yeah. So what we're doing, we're integrated with most of the big exchanges around the world, and we're working on integrating more all the time. But what the terminal can do is when you make payments, or there's a merchant, you accept payments. You can have the funds sent to a cold wallet address that you provide, or if you have an exchange account, we can send it over to the exchange to make it easy if you want to cash out the fiat or leave it, convert it to other crypto. That's
from any debit card, from any MasterCard, or is it just purely your own sort of system that you're trying to grow?
Right now, the terminal that we have right now in the big plan is to accept all kinds of payments. It has been extremely difficult, and we have not been successful yet getting credit card processing on the terminal. There's the financial services industry is very conservative, right?
Right. There's a lot of red tape, a lot of regulation, and so forth.
And for good reason. I mean, when you're a custodian of other people's money, you have to be careful, right? So they are not really fast movers. I mean, things like Apple Pay, and people ask all the time, well, what about Apple Pay? What about all this thing? Those are just wrappers around existing payment networks, existing Visa, MasterCard networks. They're not really, even those cards you see where you can, it's a Visa card that you can fund with Bitcoin or something like that. I see those as kind of like a half step, right?
Right.
Because they're still leveraging the old antiquated infrastructure that this is all supposed to replace, right?
So how are you guys gonna, if you can't get around to say, Visa or MasterCard, how are you guys gonna take this mainstream then? Because you need the backing from these guys to obviously go a bit more viral.
Yeah, and we're not done on that journey either.
Right.
And the Android app that we're working on will let us get onto existing point-of-sale terminals that run on Android OS. So existing systems that already accept payments we can get on them in that way. And the benefit of that, of course, you don't have to ship hardware around the world, to these different places. But yeah,
you're getting there. You're getting there, and that's the most important thing. I think it's transparency through this interview to tell us that you guys are working on it. Would you agree?
Oh, of course. Yeah, absolutely. It's because
great.
Yeah, merchants don't want multiple pieces of hardware. I actually went and talked to a guy. He was here in Los Angeles, and he had so many different. He had a couple terminals and iPads and stuff on his account. I don't even know what kind of. I didn't even think there was that many payment services available. But this guy's like, I can't have anything more on my counter.
Let's go at it. So, guys, we're in this interview, and obviously, Stephen is being very transparent. I hope you guys are really taking note and do reach out to him if you want to talk to Stephen about certain things that are really important in this sector. Now, let's break down the features of 34 Bytes. What is the problem you're trying to solve? What is it you guys, to make it easier for people to understand and learn from? What is the problem you're trying to solve?
The problem is the ease of spending cryptocurrencies on in-person transactions.
Right. That's a good answer.
Yeah, that's the bottom line. And we're not the only player in the space. There's new companies coming up that are offering a variety of products.
Right.
That are the competition. So this is
it, right? So you're trying to work with different players. I'm going to go on to the next question then. And how is your players, and how far are you now working with different people? What sort of partnerships have you made? The guys that are watching this video and looking at it, and many are crypto experts. How well are you doing in terms of your partnership and the players involved?
One thing that we're doing that is really a natural fit is working with various ATM or cryptocurrency ATM operators, because if there's point of sale terminals in the same area as cryptocurrency ATMs, then it's kind of creating a little ecosystem, right? You give people the ability to purchase cryptocurrency and the ability to spend it. And again,
this is an approach to take.
Important in places where there's tremendous inflation in the national currencies, or the governments are trusted to leave people with their private property.
So you're working with a lot of ATM.
What we're taking right now is working and kind of putting the terminals in spaces where there's going to be the most bang for the buck. Right.
And in terms of now coming on to my next question, that's good that you're working. You're trying to solve a problem here. What regulation? How are you doing a regulation? You're not an exchange. You're not a custodian of an exchange. How is regulation going for you? And are you following sort of the rules and practices around this?
Yes, the regulation in this space is evolving on a day-by-day basis. Lots of discussion that's happening right now in the space is more regards to ICOs and things like those of that nature, which is not things that we're interested in or working with. We're interested in them, but that's not the point of this particular product or company.
But in terms of regulation?
Yeah, and by design, we are not a custodian. We don't hold your coins. We're not a wallet service. We don't do the conversion to other currencies. We basically outsource that to the exchanges. And that's all by design. Certainly down the road, it may make more sense if we brought in-house the ability to do currency exchange and like that. But there's a lot of hoops to jump through. And every country is different. In the United States, every state is different. So
there's a lot of process to follow up with that, especially with the SEC. I know they're taking a more softer approach now in terms of ICOs. The sentiment's changed a little bit. Technology is quite important because innovation is changing, and we've got to keep on top of it, right? You got China and Japan.
Absolutely, yeah. You need to constantly be watching the news and talking with legal counsel to understand where all these matters land. It's funny because the technology that has been created here just leaped so far ahead of regulation and the laws around the world that only now, 10 years later, are government agencies really starting to pay attention and start to put some guardrails around how these things work.
Which is pretty slow in some sense, right? The way technology is moving fast, and
I think it's good. You don't want a knee-jerk reaction to some scary new technology,
Right.
I think it's good that they're kind of waiting and observing how the space develops. That's the hope, anyway, is that they take a do no harm kind of approach,
Yeah. I think it's a good thing. I'm not against it. I'm totally with it. Education and taking these approaches is really important. Guys, I hope you're enjoying this interview with Stephen. Stephen, what is it you want to tell the audience about 34 Bytes? It's quite a serious question. What is it that you want to share so people can understand the concept in a bit more of a clearer understanding? Because education and transparency is lacking within this society. What can you tell us, and what can you tell the partners that want to work with you?
We're ready to talk to anybody in the world that wants to partner with us and distribute these terminals. We're excited to get out there. This is a global opportunity.
For sure.
Really in its infancy right now.
There's a lot to come, especially when Bitcoin halvens next year, May 2020. There's a lot of interesting things happening. But not only that, the way how cryptocurrency is also changing within, the terminals. I did see an ATM machine pop up in Bulgaria, which was quite interesting, where you could actually buy Bitcoin. So it's for sure, this adoption is definitely happening. Now with 34 Bytes, my final question is what new things are going to happen within the pipeline in the next 6 months, and what things are going to evolve with you guys?
The biggest thing on our radar right now is the Lightning Network. Because
everyone wanted to hear that. Everyone's waiting for that as well, because it's the only thing that's keeping Bitcoin alive.
Blockchains are not good at scaling, right? That's not something they do well. They do a lot of other things very, very well, like security, redundancy, distribution, but they don't scale. And Lightning Network is the second layer solution right now. They'll work with Bitcoin, Litecoin, and any blockchain that have a certain number of key attributes that are necessary. But that's the way it's going to go, right? Lightning Network is the current winner in that race, but it's not the only layer 2 solution out there. But that is where this kind of application that we are using, that's where that activity is going to go. So, we've got our Lightning node running, and we're developing. It's still very early, right? There's teams.
Right. Yeah, it's still early.
Fundamental pieces, but we're already discussing how we can integrate that into our terminals and be ready when that.
Within your terminals, if Lightning Network hits an all-time high, will your terminals be able to handle that transaction speed within your processes?
For the Lightning Network?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Lightning Network is virtually instantaneous. It makes credit cards look slow.
So that's amazing. And what's going on within the pipeline of the business? How's 34 Bytes? What's going to evolve? What's coming up? We've got the Lightning Network, but in terms of fundamentals, what are you trying to do with your partnership, your leadership, and the people you're working with?
Sure. In terms of growth, we want to get on many types of platforms, right?
Right.
We're working on version 2 of our API that hopefully will be able to be consumable by third parties, right? So we can provide our services to other people that want to build hardware or other things like that. So this terminal I showed you a second ago, that's what we have right now.
Can you see again the terminal? Can we just see it again?
Yeah, sure.
All right, so that's what Stephen's building, guys. It's the terminal that he's used, that we're going to use to make these transactions, and he takes it quite seriously. Obviously, you're spreading quite fast, and you are talking to people, right?
Oh, of course, yes. And we want to get on all kinds of platforms. That's why we're working on the Android app,
Right.
because there's a lot of existing systems out there that we can integrate with if we play things right. So
There's a lot of interesting things coming for you guys.
absolutely, yeah, it's an exciting time, and it's been the last year or so has been kind of quiet in this space.
Bear market, yeah.
It's kind of a bear market, winter time, but it
Building
seems like
time. People are building, right? People are building. People are getting on with it. They're not too bothered
absolutely.
about the price.
It's quiet. It's quiet, but there's tremendous activity going on. And you think back to the last time we were in a bear market like this, like 2015,
Yeah.
2014.
When did you get into Bitcoin?
What's that?
When did you get into Bitcoin?
I caught wind of it. I don't even know how. I think I saw my friends make a post. It was back when in early 2013 when the run up to $266 US dollars.
That's a lot.
Yeah, and I remember I was thinking I just didn't understand why are people,
Nobody understood.
what is this thing? It's like a digital token. Like how does it even work?
Yeah.
So I went down the proverbial rabbit hole. And once it took me a while to kind of wrap my head around it. There's still things about Bitcoin that I don't know. There's there's so much technical detail in terms of the scripting language that's inside there and all these things.
So that's why you're integrating Bitcoin into 34 bytes, because you believe in it and people are going to use it, right?
I'm sorry?
That's why you're integrating Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Dash in your terminals, right? Because you believe in it.
Oh, absolutely. There's no doubt. There's no doubt that this is where the future is going. It's only a matter of the timeline and how quickly we as a community of developers and builders can make the experience better for the consumers or the users in general.
All right, guys. It's been a great interview with Stephen,
yes,
telling us all about 34 bytes and what these guys are up to. Do check them out. We can find you on your website. It's
34bytes.com.
Right, 34bytes.com. Do personally message him. You can also see him on LinkedIn. If any guys want to get in touch with me to get hold of Stephen, obviously I've got a big following. Do reach out for me, and we can pass that information on to Stephen. Every bit of support helps, and especially it's a community thing. This is more of a community when it comes to new technologies. We're all in this together. Not one person's on their own. We're all building together. We're all sharing content. We're all educating, and these are the things I kind of stand for in this space. This is not financial advice, guys. This is just purely an educational video interview telling people about what 34 bytes are doing, and they're just building and they're doing great things in the space. So do follow them. All right, guys. Stephen, is anything else you'd like to say?
No, that's great. Yeah, please do reach out to us if you're interested in what we're working on or getting involved somehow. We'd love to hear from you.
There you go, guys. Hope you enjoyed this interview. It's been a privilege, and hopefully we'll do a follow-up, and we'll talk to you soon. Much appreciated. Peace, much love, and respect. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.